The First Indochina War had raged for 8 long years, a grueling conflict of attrition. French forces found themselves struggling to contain the elusive and determined Viet Minh. The Viet Minh were a nationalist and communist movement, led by the charismatic Ho Chi Minh. A new French commander, General Henri Navarre, arrived with a mandate to regain the initiative. Navarre devised a bold and audacious plan, a gamble to turn the tide of the war. The plan was codenamed Operation Castor, a name that would become infamous. It involved establishing a heavily fortified air supply base deep within enemy territory. The chosen location was Dien Bien Phu, a remote valley in northwestern Vietnam. This hedgehog concept was designed to interdict Viet Minh supply lines into neighboring Laos. More importantly, it aimed to lure General von Nguyen Giap's army into a set-piece battle. The French believed their superior firepower would annihilate the Viet Minh in open combat. General René Cogny, commander in North Vietnam, was confident in the plan's success. They recalled a similar, smaller-scale success at the Battle of Beny San in 1952. The French High Command gravely underestimated their adversaries' logistical capabilities. They believed the Viet Minh could not transport heavy artillery through the dense jungle. This underestimation would prove to be a fatal and catastrophic miscalculation. In November 1953, French paratroopers descended upon the valley of Dien Bien Phu. They began constructing a series of fortified strongpoints, a complex defensive network. Each strongpoint was given a woman's name: Beatrice, Gabrielle, Anne-Marie, Isabelle Constantin. Garrison swelled to around 16,000 troops, a diverse and multinational force. While the French fortified, General Giap meticulously planned his countermove. Giap, a self-taught military genius, recognized the French vulnerability immediately. He accepted the French challenge, mobilizing his forces for a monumental effort. What followed was a logistical feat that would astound the world. Tens of thousands of civilian porters formed a human supply chain. They transported supplies and heavy weapons over hundreds of miles of treacherous terrain. They used rudimentary tools and sheer, unwavering determination. Disassembled artillery pieces were carried up the steep slopes overlooking the valley. These guns, supplied by China, were reassembled in perfectly camouflaged positions. The French reconnaissance planes saw nothing but undisturbed jungle. By early 1954, Giap had amassed a force of approximately 50,000 regular troops. 4 infantry divisions and 1 artillery division now encircled the French garrison. Giap's initial plan was for a fast attack, fast victory, a swift and decisive blow. After careful consideration, he switched to a strategy of steady attack, steady advance. This new plan involved a protracted siege, systematically destroying French positions one by one. The battle commenced on the afternoon of March 13, 1954, with a deafening roar. A massive Viet Minh artillery barrage stunned the French defenders. The shelling was devastatingly accurate, a testament to the Viet Minh's careful preparation. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Piroth, the French artillery commander, was one of the first casualties. Despondent over his inability to counter the Viet Minh guns, he took his own life. The initial Viet Minh assaults targeted the northern strongpoints with overwhelming force. Strongpoint Beatrice fell on the very first night of the attack. Its commander, Major Paul Bigot, and most of his staff were killed in the opening bombardment. 2 days later, on March 15th, Strongpoint Gabrielle was overrun after a fierce and bloody battle. The loss of these key positions so early was a devastating blow to French morale. The hedgehog was proving to be not a fortress, but a trap. The battle then settled into a brutal war of attrition, a grim stalemate. It became reminiscent of the horrific trench warfare of World War I. The Viet Minh dug an extensive and ever-growing network of trenches. They gradually tightened their stranglehold on the beleaguered French positions. The monsoon rains began, turning the valley into a quagmire of mud and blood. The conditions for the soldiers on both sides were nothing short of horrific. The French airstrip, the garrison's only lifeline, was under constant artillery fire. It was quickly rendered unusable for landing aircraft, cutting off the garrison. Supplies and reinforcements had to be dropped by parachute, a risky endeavor. A significant portion of these vital supplies fell directly into enemy hands. Throughout April, the Viet Minh launched a series of relentless and bloody attacks. The fighting centered on the Ile An and Dominique positions on the eastern side of the Nam Yom River. The fighting was hand-to-hand, incredibly vicious, and fought for every inch of ground. Positions changed hands multiple times in a dizzying cycle of attack and counterattack. By the beginning of May, the French garrison was on the verge of collapse. They were exhausted, short on ammunition, and had suffered immense casualties. The Viet Minh, in stark contrast, were poised for their final, decisive push. On May 1st, they launched a massive, all-out assault on the remaining French defenses on Dieppe. For the first time, they deployed Soviet-made Katyusha rocket launchers. The bombardment's intensity was terrifying, a symphony of destruction. On May 6th, the Viet Minh detonated a massive mine under strongpoint Ile An 2. This explosion signaled the beginning of the end for the French garrison. The following day, May 7th, the Viet Minh overran the French command bunker. They captured the garrison commander, General Christian de Castries, and his staff. The remaining French forces, isolated and completely overwhelmed, finally surrendered. A small number of soldiers from the Isabelle strongpoint attempted a desperate breakout. Only a handful managed to escape the tightening Viet Minh encirclement. The defeat at Dien Bien Phu was a catastrophic and humiliating blow to France. Of the approximately 16,000 French Union soldiers, over 2,200 were killed in action. Nearly 11,000 were taken prisoner, their fate uncertain. Many of these prisoners would not survive the brutal conditions of the Viet Minh prison camps. Viet Minh also suffered heavy losses, a testament to the battle's ferocity. Estimates place their losses at around 8,000 killed and 15,000 wounded. The fall of Dien Bien Phu had immediate and far-reaching political consequences. The French government, facing immense pressure, entered into negotiations to end the war. The Geneva Accords of 1954 were signed shortly after the battle's conclusion. These accords led to the temporary partition of Vietnam at the 17th parallel. The Communist Viet Minh gained control of the north, establishing a new state. A pro-Western government was established in the south, setting the stage for future conflict. The French withdrawal from Indochina created a significant power vacuum in the region. The United States, fearing the spread of communism, felt compelled to fill this vacuum. American involvement in Vietnam would escalate dramatically in the following years. This escalation led directly to the Second Indochina War, known as the Vietnam War. The Battle of Dien Bien Phu remains a landmark event in modern military history. It was a powerful symbol of a small, determined nation's ability to defeat a major colonial power. The battle served as an inspiration for anti-colonial movements across the globe. For the Vietnamese people, It was a hard-won victory that secured their independence from France. It was a pivotal moment in their long and arduous struggle for national reunification. The ghosts of Dien Bien Phu would haunt both France and the United States for decades to come. The valley, once a battlefield, slowly returned to a state of peace. But the memory of the 56 days of brutal fighting would never be forgotten. The battle demonstrated the power of logistics and popular mobilization in modern warfare. It was a lesson in the limits of conventional military power against a determined insurgency. The name Dien Phu became synonymous with decisive military victory against overwhelming odds. The French Foreign Legion fought with particular distinction and suffered heavy losses. Their heroic but doomed defense became a legendary chapter in their history. The Viet Minh's use of artillery was both brilliant and devastating. They had managed to achieve what the French thought was impossible. The battle was a turning point, not just for Vietnam, but for the entire Cold War. It showed that the domino theory, so feared by the West, could become a reality. The legacy of Dien Bien Phu is complex, a story of heroism, tragedy, and revolution. It is a reminder that the will of a people can be a more powerful force than any army. The battle's lessons continue to be studied in military academies around the world. The story of Dien Bien Phu is a human story, of courage, sacrifice, and the desire for freedom. The echoes of the guns of Dien Bien Phu can still be heard today. The French had sought a decisive battle, and they had gotten one. The Viet Minh had turned the tables, using the terrain to their advantage. Monsoon season added to the misery, a relentless, unforgiving force. Disease, such as malaria and dysentery, was rampant in the French camp. The Viet Minh's anti-aircraft guns were surprisingly effective, taking a heavy toll on French planes. The pilots who flew the supply missions were incredibly brave, flying into a curtain of fire. The battle for Ilian II was particularly brutal, a microcosm of the entire siege. The use of human wave attacks by the Viet Minh was costly but effective. The French soldiers fought with courage and desperation, but they were doomed. The surrender was a bitter pill to swallow for the proud French army. The long march to the prison camps was an ordeal in itself. The world watched in shock as a colonial power was defeated by a revolutionary army. The battle had a profound impact on the psychology of both the colonizers and the colonized. Dien Bien Phu was more than a battle. It was a symbol of a changing world. The French public, tired of the war, demanded an end to the conflict. The political fallout in France was immense, leading to the fall of the government. The United States, under President Eisenhower, had considered intervening to save the French. However, they ultimately decided against direct military involvement at that time. The stage was set for a new, even larger conflict, with America in the leading role. The Vietnamese victory was a source of immense national pride. General Giap's strategic genius was celebrated throughout the communist world. The battle is remembered annually in Vietnam with patriotic ceremonies. The battlefield of Dien Bien Phu is now a historical site, attracting visitors from all over the world. It serves as a stark reminder of the horrors of war and the price of freedom. The story of the battle has been told in numerous books, films, and songs. It is a tale of David versus Goliath, of the weak overcoming the strong. The French had underestimated the power of an idea, the idea of independence. The Viet Minh fought for their homes, their families, and their future. The French fought for a distant colonial empire that was already beginning to crumble. The battle was a brutal and bloody affair, with no quarter given on either side. The memory of Dien Bien Phu is a somber one, but also a proud one for the Vietnamese people. It is a story that will continue to be told for generations to come, a testament to the human spirit.